About midnight.
Nice.
Like, well, that's what you anticipated was like midnight, right?
Yeah, I was like, I pulled in my garage at like midnight-ish.
Yeah. All right. Well, gentlemen, it's time for another Redneck Live.
Oh
We
boy.
reformatted. We're doing this now. On tonight, we're talking about two topics: Kim and Ben training,
Yep.
Mr. Kim for World Shoot, and also Mr. Park attended the PCC slash production nationals.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that. Mr. Park, tell
Yes,
us about the nationals. What did you think of the match, the stages, the whole deal? You're going to shit on some volunteers, maybe? Like, what do you think?
Yeah, before you criticize too much, just think. Did you volunteer?
Did you volunteer, Joel?
No, I did not.
Volunteering to criticize, so that's something.
This is true. I would say, well, Ben, I posted a couple stage runs on the interwebs earlier today. I don't know if you
Yeah.
looked at those or not.
I did not. I'm going to look at
The
them now.
difficulty, I think, was a little bit high for a lot of shooters. There were quite a bit of like positions where you're shooting to 10 rounds, or maybe you're making a goofy stage plan to not go to slide lock. There was one stage where there was maybe 7 steel you could get from one spot. I mean, along with some other junk too. So,
Okay.
go ahead,
So
sorry.
this was the production PCC nationals. It sounds to me like you might be saying it was the PCC nationals.
Kind of.
You know, I mean, is that like
I think
just
that's
to
pretty
put
fair.
it in a nutshell for people? Is that
I think
would
so.
you do that or no?
I think for the most part the shot difficulty was very high. There were, I don't know, there's one shot on one of the stages on a lean that there was like with no time limit. I don't know if some of the competitors could make it. So there was a lot of shooting to 10 rounds, a lot of high difficulty shooting. There were steel targets at, I'm bad at guessing, let's say 30 yards ish, with like the bottom half of it was hardcover, but it was metal, it was steel, and then behind the target was also steel. So when you shoot at it, you're going to hear a gong sound regardless if you hit the target or not.
Oh,
Which I suppose is kind of interesting if you're, good at target focusing and pressing the trigger without moving the gun. But that was pretty disheartening for some people because you're going to hear that kind of gong sound either way. Some of the swingers, I suppose, were a little disappearing. Oh, there's nothing disappearing. Some of the activators were a little bit spicy. Overall, the one thing I did like, the staff I thought was honestly pretty good for the most part. As a whole, they were good about getting out overlays if it was appropriate. There's always a couple out there that aren't the best, but for the most part, I thought the staff was really good as far as the ROs and the officiating goes. Probably better than previous matches I've been to, being honest. The location, back at Talladega, CMP Marksmanship Park. So,
did you watch the safety video?
Yeah, of course.
I remember. Do you remember?
I remember well.
Was this last year or the year before where
we're
all like, there. Talladega seems like a nice range, and I was like, you haven't been there, have you? Because we were going to go do a class there.
Yep.
And you're like, no, it seems like really good. And I was like, just wait till you go there. And then we went there, and then we left, and then you said, hey Ben, I totally get it.
Yeah. They have a really big and nice facility. I think they are probably more suited to hold like the Steel Challenge.
It is like the ultimate BOC range.
Well, I was talking about the bay layout. They had a lot of them were doubled up.
I'm talking about the management, Joel.
Oh. Okay.
Trying to get you on board with that, but you're not doing it.
Sorry. The facility itself, they had a lot of stages doubled up. Parking's a little bit rough. I don't know. Overall, it is.
You have that like access bridge sort of.
Yep.
You have to go over that to get to the action bays.
So, well, other people wouldn't know, but for you, remember where we taught the class at those very back bays?
Yes.
That was like zone 3. So if you're going to this very back, like in the back right corner, that zone, you were allowed to park, and you got a parking pass to put on your car. So the person watching the toll bridge had to see that parking pass to allow you to pass. So because you're driving past zone 2 to get to zone 3. And if you're supposed to be in zone 3, you can park there. But if you're shooting zone 2, you can't park in zone 2. That's just for the officials. So then you're supposed to park on the other side of the drawbridge where the commoners park if you're shooting zone 1 or 2.
One thing that doesn't make sense to me is when I shot CO nationals, which is bigger nationals than PCC and production, I didn't have that, but production PCC was smaller than Carry Optics national.
It definitely didn't sell out. They sent an email out about consolidating squads. I assume just because some of them were, not even enough to have a full squad. And there was one day where we were walking one of the zones anyway. I mean, of the stages, there was maybe 2 squads in that zone. The rest of the bays were empty. So there was one day where we were walking the stages and there was just no one there. There was just 2 squads shooting. So I think they looks like pretty short on it, like maxing out the event anyway.
Okay, so the match you'd say was,
I think, more PCC stages, definitely difficult shooting, but on the flip side, hard shots and whatever is part of shooting. So I suppose you could just say it's
you
was a higher
sound
difficulty
so
match.
not excited, Joel. You sound so not excited.
It was okay. It was still fun hanging out with the guys. It is what it is.
All right, and was there any insight you care to offer on the USPSA situation generally? I heard that there was some acknowledgement from Yeeman, maybe Phil Strader as well, that the organization's kind of fucked up now, like some public acknowledgement. Is that true?
They both kind of made like at the banquet, basically an acknowledgement that they know things aren't probably optimal or being ran well, and that they're looking to improve it. So I guess the first step is admitting you have a problem, right?
Right. I think Yeeman got a wake-up call when he realized that Jake runs things, not him.
I think fundamentally combining PCC and production in the first place was a mistake. And the stage designs, I was watching the live feed and all the videos. The stages weren't particularly balanced for both divisions. No. I felt like it's basically it's a race circuit, PCC being like a F1 Formula cars, and production being like a scooter. And trying to compete on the same circuit doesn't make any sense to me, in my opinion.
Yeah, there was one bay where they had, more or less all the targets on the back end side of that were all along the outside corners of the bay. If you can imagine a square bay, and they're on the right, the left, along like basically the sides as far as they can get them, and then basically more or less along the back with a couple things in the middle.
Yeah.
Which shooting far is part of the sport, but it was definitely high difficulty. I think everyone got their feelings hurt at some point. Definitely no one shot a perfect match. It was very high difficulty. Like I said, a lot of shooting to 10 rounds.
Yeah, I was actually keeping on track on both PCC division and production division. And PCC division, the score-wise, I was watching day 1, 2, 3. The number of penalty didn't really go up much for most of the top shooters, but a lot of the top shooters in production division, the penalty count was increasing every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, because you're trying to shoot PCC stage with a production, it's tough.
Oh, for sure, it's tough.
I saw guys that were clean one day and then had 6 penalties the next day.
Yeah,
that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of weird.
One nice thing was basically all the stages you could walk up, and in 4 minutes you could figure out your plan. There wasn't anything from a complexity. Well, I guess if you're experienced at walking stages, it wasn't that tough to develop a stage plan. There was a lot of things where you could see targets from multiple views, and you had to chop up your stage plan for ammo management. At least all my squad was entire pistol shooters. So, everyone's doing squads to mix it up where you can see targets from multiple spots, but so you don't run out of ammo and you can get to all the target without doing standing reloads. But at least there's no memory stages.
Okay, Joel. Well,
pretty fascinating, I know.
Good. Anything about the in-person meeting for USPSA?
I don't know that anybody that attended it. I don't know how many people were there. They did have things out on the stages inviting people to go, saying that there was free soft drinks and pizza.
That is wonderful.
I don't know how many people went. I didn't talk to anyone that went. We already had plans that evening.
All right. Well, let's move on. Joel, time to interrogate us about the training we've been doing.
Yes, please tell me more. What have you guys been
Well,
up to?
you're the one, this was your idea, if you think about it.
It kind of was, actually. This is true.
So why don't you tell us what your idea was?
Well, Kim needs to get trained up for World Shoot.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Ben, if he's left to his own devices, who knows what he'll be up to, buying more Pit Vipers.
I could give you some ideas, yeah.
I don't
will
need
spend
ideas.
all of this class money on Pit Vipers and ammo.
The most ridiculous looking sunglasses. So I thought, hey, I get to hang out with Kim quite a bit. Ben should hang out with Kim. And this is good because Kim can get trained up for World Shoot.
Yep.
Which is good. And there's a bunch of changes going on in training group that, well, I mean, I'll be honest. I'm pulled in a lot of directions right now. I don't have very much bandwidth right now.
You got to finish this book, Joel.
Well, yeah, I need to finish this book. I've got another thing that I'm training with Glocks and carbines for already today. And what else? Work is nonstop busy. So anyway, there's some stuff on training group, changes we're making, integrating the rifle stuff. So it was good for you guys to kill a lot of birds with one stone.
Yeah.
So tell me about how it's going. What did you guys do the first day?
The first day was basic scenarios. Then we did standard exercises, like standard practice setup. Then I think we did another scenario day.
Yes. More still target focus.
Yes, then still target scenarios, like because we're anticipating World Shoot to have a lot of, I think 80 shots on mini poppers.
Yeah, 80 to 90.
Holy fuck!
Out of like 500. Yep. So we did a day focused on that. Today was focused on today was rifle shooting.
Mm-hmm. And we did one-handed shooting focus.
One-handed shooting focus day. Yeah, we did that. And for me, it was a good opportunity to really get after it with a PDP.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of those things? Shoot me straight.
So I got a couple PDPs with the hollow. Are mine the 507s or the 509s?
Whichever one is that looks like the closed emitter aim point.
It's closed and square box.
Yeah, so I have a couple.
It looks
of
like
PDPs
an aim point aggro. People would be familiar with that.
Yeah, with the closed emitter holosuns on there. Yeah, what do I think of the guns? It's just not an offensive gun at all. So the grip is fine. It does not offend me. It's not like it's the perfect gun, but it's like, yeah, I mean, it's a grip that I can hang on to. The trigger is very manageable. There's really nothing weird or goofy about any of the controls. It functions the way it should. It's a little bit snappy in terms of the recoil, I think, when you compare it to a Glock, but it's kind of a subjective thing, but it feels like it snaps, especially the shorter gun I have. Because I have a couple of different lengths. The shorter one definitely is snappier.
I think
and I just feel like I'm spending more time waiting on the gun, but it's very neutral, and also I'll say this, it's a perception thing. It's not like reality. Like I perceive the gun as being very snappy. It's not like it's slower than a Glock fundamentally for me to shoot.
It's actually due to the way the gun unlocks. I think in the amount of time, like how it, I'm not a gunsmith, but the gun like unlocks faster. The amount of time in battery is why that gun feels that way.
Yeah.
But Ben, the thing I noticed is if you hold the gun neutrally and you're not pushing up, down, whatever, if you just, I did this on Professor's Kim, you just fire a pair, which is holding the gun neutrally, the bullets will stack. They'll go at the same spot. I didn't feel like I had to return the gun at all or push down on the gun or try to influence it at all.
Right.
So I like that part.
Compared to a CZ, like with brass grips, like a really heavy gun, I feel like I'm waiting on the gun. But that's what I'd expect. The lighter guns flip more. I would feel like I'm waiting on it. And that is kind of what I feel like. I like the trigger much better than the Glocks.
Mm-hmm. What about the back straps? Did you mess with those at all?
I haven't had to.
Okay.
I mean, the way the guns came out of the box was fine with me.
You probably have the medium in it.
Yeah, I think so. But however they are is fine. No complaints there. So, and it was good to shoot it, especially to shoot with Mr. Kim, because he's very adept with these guns.
Yep. I like it. How many rounds are you guys shooting a day?
What? At least 300.
More, probably more, but we shoot. The way we've been doing it is we train hard for an hour together on like world shoot stuff. Then we separate and we do our own thing. Like maybe I train rifle for an hour, he trains something else. Then maybe we got to make some videos for training groups, something like that. We get back together for that. That's what we've been up to. So it's only it's an hour together hard, like back to back to back to back runs on different exercises, working through stuff. I mean, we're pretty sweaty and like kind of wrecked at the end of the scenario time when we're like running like little stages with a lot of movement. Like we're sweating pretty hard at the end of that.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things I've enjoyed the most. Literally, what we're trying to do is we're not really interested in trying to like, hey, let's just push our ability a little bit. We're more interested in, hey, let's find out what's like the human capacity of this like certain stage or certain drill. Like let's find out like what humans are capable of, and let's try to make that happen.
I like that. Kim, what were your expectations heading to Ben's house? What did you think you were in for?
Generally, I guess I was, because I only shot one war shoot before, and then back then it was more production. It was like first international match ever, so I didn't have an expectation. But this time I have, because I shot once, I know what I didn't do properly on the previous match. So it's kind of in a way, it's a strategy and mental side as well. And like how I need to set my mindset was what I wanted to know. And yeah, that's something that I definitely picked up from Ben training together too.
Like it. The killer mindset, I suspect.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I think with our discussions, like what's different about my style practicing is I'm going hard at the paint.
Yes.
The whole time. Pushing to failure, trying to really learn something, challenging myself. It's constant. Most people don't do that the whole time, or maybe not at all. Like I'll give you an example. Today we went and shot with a friend of mine who's not really a USPSA guy. You know him, my friend Paul.
Paul,
like you know him.
I like Paul.
Right, nice guy.
Paul's competent at shooting.
He's extreme. He's been doing nothing but shooting groups for 20 years.
Yeah,
basically. Like the time that I've been doing competitive shooting, he's been shooting groups.
Yeah, with
all kinds of different guns, and he's very, very good at it. So we were out today and we shot groups a little bit. Zeroed. I mean, I handed him my rifles like, hey, zero this one. I had one that I thought was zeroed and one I thought was not, and had him shoot them. And my suspicions were correct, but there's not many people I trust with that, but him I do. So we, some informal, like kind of group shooting, slow fire stuff, some different distances. Then Paul and Kim went and fucked off with PDPs and a PCC, just like shooting a little bit, and then I shot a few videos, like drill demos for a training group. And to me, it was not a productive training day. Like I didn't do anything productive. I didn't do anything to really get better at shooting, personally. But I think like my view of today, like that was most people's normal practice session. Was nothing really productive actually happened, if you think about it.
Sure.
But that's kind of hard to tell people without sounding like a dick.
I know.
I mean, but the truth is, I did a little bit of productive stuff today. Like I confirmed my rifle zeros and, all that. Very nice. But like, honestly, it wasn't
really. You don't care
really
about your rifle zeros. As long as you're hitting the A zone, you're good to go.
I try to do better than that, Joel. But yeah, you're right.
Fist size group. How's that?
Fist size group. Paul has decided the LPVOs are not maybe the move. He kind of liked my magnifier on one of my rifles. So maybe I think he's ditching his LPVOs, Joel. So
Ooh.
you've scored another victory there.
I don't care, but
Yeah, you do. You hate LPVOs. That's what you told me.
I don't know. I bought one that's like $1,400 because that was supposed to be the good one, and it was like worth the money just to try it.
It's because you've got too much money, Joel.
That's yeah, certainly not from you paying me too much, but yeah, I probably have too much money.
I might pay you too much. I don't know.
Maybe you do.
Maybe I do.
No, but I wanted to try it and see what it was about, and then when I was running the LPVO, I started running into all these issues. So I started talking to other people to confirm they also had the same issues. Then we trained with our friend Nick Young of Valex Training Group, and then with the stuff we talked about, the vision stuff, later he messaged me. He's like, "Hey, LPVOs suck, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, pretty much." But I mean, like obviously,
for shooting at
special
that like
applications,
practical distance.
yeah. There are applications where it'd be great, but for aggressive shooting out to 50, 75 yards on man-sized targets, it's not really needed. But there are some applications where it'd be preferred. Or maybe if it's the end of the world and it's like we're hit with EMP and electronics fail, and you're doing like the Red Dawn thing, then LPVO might be the way to go too. You know.
In the case of Red Dawn.
Yeah, in the case of Red Dawn.
That's great. That's good, Joel.
Well, I thought you'd like to know that. So what time to the day does this training nonsense kick off, guys? Is this like 6 o'clock in the morning? You're up and ready to shred?
It started off that way until I got kind of jacked up, but
yeah, I got terrible muscle sore too.
Yeah, we got sore, but it was like get up at 7, dry fire, workout, then hit the range.
Yeah, I saw you had Professor doing jumping jacks and skip rope and stuff in the garage.
Yeah, we were getting after it.
I was getting tired just watching the video.
Yeah. But I think the big thing was the aggressiveness of the live practice.
Yes.
I like it.
I mean, when we're doing the standard practice setup, it's like, yeah, you can have whatever theory you want about how to hold the gun. We need to hit these times.
Mm-hmm.
That's just what's happening now.
Yep.
Like that's.
What did you think of going back to the standard practice setup, by the way?
I thought it was great. I enjoyed it. I haven't shot it a ton, not with handguns anyway, not in a while. But to me, it was nice to shoot like the PDP on that setup because I haven't shot standard practice setup in a few years, really hard. But then I did it some when I had the CZs out and I was learning those, and I did it again with the PDP. And what was interesting is it confirmed all my preconceived notions, is that the CZs were really strong. The further away I was from the targets, the stronger I was. When it came to drawing and reloading, the striker fired lightweight pistols were really the best. So like the PDP, I could easily shoot low 4s L press times with no dry fire, like no practice, essentially just shooting low 4s and 10-yard L press with that gun. Even though to me it felt very flippy, like I didn't feel like I was shooting it fast.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't shooting fast, but the draw was there and the reload was consistent and easy.
But you are
shooting the CZs, I could do, faster times easily into the 3s, but it relied on nailing the reload because the shooting part was much different because of the weight soaked up the recoil. So I was never really waiting on the gun.
Yeah. And you'd be well above the 10 hit factor.
In either case. Yeah.
Speed. Yeah.
Yeah. I strongly prefer the striker fired pistols at like 10 yards and in, especially paired like with a rifle working out of a retention holster. I strongly prefer the striker fired pistols.
I can see that.
Yeah, they're just way easier to deal with.
Well, I'm like, here's a Glock in front of me that I've been dry firing today. But yeah, I mean, if you're running around with this thing, mainly going to be on your belt, but also be nice to have something lighter. Very cool. So what's the future for you guys? What's on the agenda for
What's
tomorrow?
The future for us, Joel? We're talking about, you know what people want to hear about? They want to hear about adaptive rifle.
Oh, all right.
So what's in there now? Let's talk about what we've been working on.
Okay. Where do you want to start, sir?
Well, what is in the book?
The book has drills as well as it's a technique book. So how to mount the rifle, how to do the, the techniques, rifle, the like transition, like slinging a rifle to drawing your handgun, reloading the rifle. What else? Aiming schemes, kind of all the technical stuff that ties into shooting.
Right, and then like a set of drills.
And the drills each have a theme. So, for instance, maybe it's a marks, like a basic marksmanship fundamentals. Maybe it's advanced marksmanship. Maybe it's target transition. Maybe it's running around, and doing some movement. So, a theme and then a subset of drills that work within that theme. And there's also some standard exercises. So, drills you can go back to kind of test, kind of put all the pieces together into one drill, test it, see what you get, and then when you find out where you're struggling at or where you're falling short or something you don't like, then you can go back to a subset of drills to work on just that one aspect. You don't like the rapid fire shooting, you don't like your mount, you don't feel like the target transitions are on point, whatever it is, then you can go back and kind of isolate that piece.
Okay, well, I mean, I'll even give people a bigger picture. So I started shooting this style of rifles with Matt Pranka in, I think, 2019. Shot it a little bit, showed me some stuff because he applied kind of some of the concepts that we've been doing with handguns. He applied it to the rifle, and we've been working on this material since, like how to really train these. And what's different for this style of rifle, Joel? What would you, for then different than like the 2-gun matches you do? Like this is hit factor scoring and no magnification on the rifles.
Correct.
Right?
And then
Which is like, that's weird for people. Because typically if you have 2-gun matches or 3-gun matches, they're going to build the match in such a way that if you don't have magnification on like one stage, like you're going to get boned.
Nothing for stupid target presentation.
Right?
Because sometimes, yeah. So
well, it may not be stupid. It might be 8-inch plates at like 250 yards.
Sure.
In which case, magnification is a lot different than a red dot. Okay, but this style of rifle shooting doesn't really include that. So you use the red dot.
Yep.
So like I kind of got into this style of rifle shooting, and then this is a training manual to get other people into it. Kind of culminating in this CQB warm-up test, which is a 48 rounds, like 36 rounds of rifle, 12 rounds of pistol. Like it's a pretty good, check on your shooting for this style, like a slung rifle with a handgun in a retention holster, like the rifle pistol combo. That style of shooting. This is a good test.
I agree.
So I got to proofread the adaptive rifle book, and the first thing I told Ben was, "Hey, this is gonna be the new textbook for the shooting industry." So what I actually meant by, "Hey, this is gonna be the textbook of the shooting industry," is, of course, there's like good drills and stuff, but it has great definitions of all the confusing terms that's out there for the shooting industry. Because some people say, "Hey, you should be like, hey, you should be thinking about shot calling," and some people like come up with a different term, but ends up being about the same meaning. So people are confusing each other by creating different words for about the same thing. But this book really comes up with a good word and the definition of it. So that's where I meant like, hey, this is going to be a textbook. Then people's going to use those terms. There's like a textbook definition.
Like it.
Yeah. And another thing I felt is this book, there's so many shooting books, right? But a lot of the books so far was so focused on mechanical side of shooting. So like people are talking about front side, rear side alignment kind of thing. It's all mechanical stuff, but this book is really focused on actual shooter's perspective. So to say, if the previous books were more like mechanic side of the car, this book is more of the racer's perspective, the user's perspective, rather than what the gun mechanically has to be to hit a target. This is more like, hey, as a shooter, you should be doing this.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well said, Professor.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, I'm stoked about it. That's going to be a good project. Joel, you've worked out a deal with T-Rex and the Pro Shop. What's that deal?
T-Rex Arms will be carrying the adaptive rifle as well as the practical shooting training, the white back.
And
pistol
it's
book.
actually going to be cheaper than it is on Amazon.
Yes, and it'll be a better deal than you can buy it on Amazon.
So I'm really happy about that. So T-Rex and the Pro Shop are going to carry adaptive rifle for $20 instead of the list price for Amazon will be $25. So that is awesome.
Bingo. And I mean, honestly, to plug T-Rex, their prices are pretty cheap and they have all the stuff you need. So if you need, like, their carbine sling is good to go. I mean, whatever else, optics, stocks, like lights, all that stuff. They have all that stuff. So it's an easy spot. They already have competitive prices if you need to change up your rifle.
Yeah. All right. Well, Joel, this was a banger podcast. Thanks for coming on with Mr. Kim and I.
Of course. So what is this? You never really explained what is this Redneck Live and how is this going to change from the
This
previous
is the
show?
second episode, dude. It's already changed.
Oh,
It's all happening.
The first episode? All right.
Yeah, you missed it.
Oh, perfect. I'll look forward to listening to that then.
Yeah, exactly. Now you know.
All right, carry on.